Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Foundation and to episode 2 of this series. It is a organic medieval city building game, and in our first episode, we started with a small city center. We put our village center in, we added a well, eventually a berry market and a warehouse, and we zoned housing all around the outside. Now, when I say organic, what does that mean? These paths you see, I don't choose where the roads go. Those are determined by the workers and where they need to walk to get from work, to get resources, to get home, etc. Now, at the end of episode 1, also, I guess the housing is organic. We ended last episode with 22, we now have 24 villagers, and this is the newest house. I just missed it being built, but if you see, you can zone for housing. So we decide where the houses can go, but the villagers decide where they want to live. And of course, they are the ones making the paths in and around town. So we ended last episode by building this, the Lord's Manor, and I think if all goes well this coming episode, we may be able to end by building our church. We will see. We have a lot on our hands for today. We need to get working on farming. So we started with this simple hexagon of territory, and we did that adding in stonecutter camp, gathering berries, woodcutter camp, and a sawmill, as well as the housing and warehouse I mentioned earlier. Then we expanded our kingdom this way. And the reason that this one is so important is it contains iron ore, which I think an episode or 2 from now we will start to take advantage of. But we started very close to iron ore, and there is very little around. You can see some in the distance across the bay, and you can see some in the hills way back this way. But we need to make sure that we plan around this, and we plan around using that iron ore for mining, then smelting, then blacksmithing. So, we ended the episode by expanding to a third hex, and this is going to be the site of our first farming operation. We have 2 types of farming we're going to need to get done today. So, what we need to do, actually, is go to zoning, and I can go ahead and turn off these. There we go. Turn this off, and extraction. So this is how you tell people what to gather. I've got one around my berry patch. I've got one around the stone there. And I'm actually going to tell them to stop gathering wood from this chunk of the map. I don't mind having a little forest back there. Same with this area. I think we can safely say, don't bother, guys, to our team of woodcutters. And you can check your villagers and their tasks. I have 4 new ones, so we're up to 24. They need to be given jobs. I'm going to make them builders for the moment while we figure out exactly what to do with them. But before you get to the point where you're going to expand into sheep farms and wheat farms, you kind of want to let the population build up a little bit so you have the people to man those things when you get there. So I think for the moment we have 6 woodcutters. I've built a second camp, and that is right here. So I've got them focusing on clearing forests out from around the coastline here. A little stretch down by the road, but I think with the 2 new villagers are joining. But I think with the plan to expand into sheep farming over here, we're going to tell them to hold off on this area for now. They can leave that. We can get to it in a little bit. We haven't had to bother with forestry, which is you can build a hut and put a person to work replanting, and they only plant pine forests. So if you like any stretch of this old oak growth, you kind of want to keep it. You kind of want to keep that there, and otherwise you won't be able to replant it. So we might as well keep this chunk of forest right here. We'll worry about that when we get into the iron mining and smelting. Now, on this front, guys, I should say, in the first episode, I didn't do the best job addressing the camera. It's been quite a while since I did a series like this with a face cam, so give me a break while I get used to it once again. But we need to move on to sheep farming. So let's take a look at the stuff that's at our disposal. We've built gathering huts, lumber camps, berry markets, stonecutters camps, sawmills, wells, and a warehouse. We have not done any of this, and there are 3 steps to the process of making clothing, and if we find a random one of our villagers, we will see that that's the thing they need most. By giving them water and berries, they became serfs. If we can add housing, which everybody has, and clothing, they will then become commoners and have different needs, including bread, I think, and faith, which is where the church would come in. And bread is the step after this. Wheat farms, windmills, bakeries, and bread markets. The clothing is a 3-tiered process. Sheep farms, a weaver's hut, and a clothes market. Now, I have 5 free people. So what I think I'm going to do to get us started is actually build 3 sheep farms. Now, it's kind of important that there's a kind of a key step to point out here. And we're going to tuck these kind of close to the edge of the coastline. We'll spread them out around this region. We'll put one there, and I'll put one maybe down by the path that comes in and out of this area. Let me spin the camera around, and I'll do a little zoom job and see if we can squeeze one right here. Okay, so we've got lots of builders. Each of those requires tools, so I'm not sure how many they'll be able to get done. I'm going to build 3, and let's get rid of the building hammer. We'll see if we can zoom in on this. So 10 tools each. So we're going to make sure that we're buying tools, and we can do that through the trade thing. We also have to make sure we accept tools here, which we already are. That is the warehouse. And if we take a look here, neighboring cities, we have open trade with Davenport. So we can buy tools for 10 gold apiece. We have 15. We need 15 more. So I'm going to tell them to get me up to 30. And I'll have to remember to back this down later, I think. And then down the road, guys, after we have done the wheat farm, the sheep farming, the clothing, then the wheat farming and the process for getting bread, church will be on our to-do list, but also will be the blacksmithing stuff, where we can begin to make our own tools, and we're less reliant on trade with Davenport, where we're buying tools at 10 gold apiece and selling berries and stone at 2 gold apiece. Berry, stone, and planks, which we should have a pretty good supply of. So, are we still holding on to our stone? I think we can sell the stone again. We can maybe slow down on selling berries. Let's hold on and we'll build up a supply of those for now, because our population is only going to continue to grow. We have to make sure we have room for our village to expand. So let's go with the residential zoning thing. I don't know if there's room to build a house in here. It would be nice if somebody tucked a house right on the coast. If not, we'll put buildings of our own choosing back there. And now we'll expand that potential housing out here, and hopefully continue our little donut shape of housing. I don't want to expand too much too fast. Somebody builds a house way out in some random corner. I guess we could stand up another house behind these two. So I'll back this up a little bit here. And yeah, we're going to check in on the progress of our sheep farms. I'm going to cut away from you guys. I'll wait for my workers, my builders, to get to work. And once I have a sheep farm, I'm going to show you exactly how it works. Looking good, buddy. Come on. Give me that sheep farm. Almost done. Almost done. You're doing it, Oliver. George. It's a very cool looking building, guys. I brought you back too soon. I thought Georgie boy here was nearly done with the process. We have another sheep farm. Oh God, that camera sweeps too strongly. We have another sheep farm nearly done here, and I think there is one complete down below. So that is our sheep farm. Room for some stalls, and we have to put people to work at it. We're going to have 3, and they can only take 1 employee each. So that is a shepherd, which is a new profession for us. We're going to go ahead and put 3 shepherds to work. Now, that is not all you have to do for the sheep farm. You actually have to go to the sheep farm and spawn sheep. Theodorich. 1, 2, 3, 4 is what it seems to want you to spawn. I always spawn a 5th. It says, come on, don't abuse. So I don't know what happens if you just keep spawning sheep like crazy. So someone should be assigned to work here shortly. So we'll do 5. And then here is our last one right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so Oliver should be going to work as a sheep farmer. He's probably busy building. The population has now climbed to 30, and I think we have houses for everybody. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Is that right? Yes, 15. Perfect. Okay, so the village proper is expanding thoroughly, and eventually we are going to need to add village housing, and I think we'll do that on this slope over here. To get started with this, we've obviously got to get these sheep farmers, and what they are going to do is start collecting wool. Now, Oliver's the last one to get to work. Theodorich was the first, but you'll see up here, basic resources, there's our gold, very low, because we've been buying so many tools, and actually we can stop focusing on tool buying for now, and we'll lower this number to 20. I decided once again to trade berries and to save stone, because that was what we were lacking in the last process, in building these sheep farms, but they're all done now. We got people working. You'll notice that wool is not one of the resources you see up top. I think it's only tradable ones that you happen to see up there. Is that right? No, wood is not tradable. I don't know. But you can click this little tab to the left of it, and you can pull up a resource panel. So gold none. Well, that'll go up with time here. We got wood, tools, berries, glass. I don't know how I got glass. How did I get glass? Stone, planks, and wool. So wool is now going up, which means we can safely employ some weavers. And I think with 3 sheep farms, 2 weavers' huts is probably what we'll end up needing. But for now, 1 will do the trick. So I want to find a spot close to the center of town. Of course, you could build close to the sheep farms, but eventually the wool will have to be turned into clothing, and the clothing will have to be sold in the town center. So if no house is going to be built here, perhaps I can, and I guess I don't have the gold for it right now. All right, I'm going to wait till we have some gold. I think you need 200 for a weaver hut. You do. All right, so I'm going to make sure we get some trading underway. I will come back to you guys once again in a minute or two, probably a few minutes. There you go. That's the sheep herder actually shearing the sheep. I hadn't noticed before that he actually does this, and we're making good money now. In the time you guys were away, I added a second stone cutter camp and a second gathering hut, so we can be producing more berries and stone, the kind of things that Davenport wants to buy from us. And in the meantime, we have probably amassed a decent supply, 73 wool, as guys like, what was his name? Theodorich, do the work and put the time in shearing these sheep. You actually see them get smaller. Very cool. So whoever's on this pasture not doing your job, get to work, Oliver, you lazy sot. Okay, now housing has expanded, population up to 36. I think that's 6 higher than when I left you. And we are ready to put in our weaver's hut. Very straightforward. Very cool looking building. Now it has a front and a back. I believe that's the front. So let's spin our camera around. And we're going to tuck it in right on this coastline. It seems like nobody is willing to build a house here. So if we are smart, we are going to be able to find a very good little spot to tuck it in. Right like that. Okay, so I still have some builders, and we have the population continuing to flow into town. 5 new stone cutters, 3 new foragers, and we still have a surplus of people. Yeah, looks good. So I made the second stone cutter camp. I can actually build it right into the last one, so that just looks, instead of like a 2-pointed tent, it looks like a 3-pointed tent. That's 2 of them side by side. The second forager hut I tucked in right here, next to the other one, leading right into the berry patch. Both should have 3 people. They do. Beautiful. And we're moving well along our way. So once the weaver hut is done, and we're going to speed up to double time here just so this thing gets done more quickly. And let's see, do we have everything we need in stock? We got more than everything we need. We're in good shape. Wilhelmine, keep building, darling. And then after that, we're going to need a second market tender, and we're going to be adding another market stall to our village center. I mentioned this at the very beginning, that this was my plan, to build these in right up into the center. Excuse me, right up into the center of the village, and we're going to do that. So we'll put that one in, and then later in this episode, we'll be adding a bread market stall. We are going to need, once that is done, we are going to need a market tender. We are going to need 2 weavers, and we'll see if we need another weaver shop. Another weaver's hut, because I think with 3 sheep farms, we probably will be able to do that. And clothing is a tough one to keep in stock. It appears up here, and it's needed by all 36 of our villagers right now. Every single one of them, if I can manage to click on one, is lacking for that and nothing else, pretty much. If we scan to the left, you can actually see the happiness of all your people. Any real grumpy gusses? Doesn't look like it. I think we're in good shape. Everybody's generally pretty happy, and this was my experience before, is that once you get 3 out of the 4 filled, you're in good shape. So you don't need to rush or panic on your way to getting the clothing production set up. Let's check this out. Wilhelmine doing the work. Everything's there that needs to be there. Okay, let's just zoom in, and we'll see this building once it is done being created. Look at that. Look at the trusses going up across the roof. That looks so cool. Come on, Wilhelmine, you can do it. 2 new people in town. And we're going to have to expand housing. I've rezoned some areas along the road that leads to the other hexes of territory that we've got. I just want to see this building come to life. Our 2 weavers will go to work, including Wilhelmine. She'll get to work in this building. Hard work paying off. Ba-boom! Good job, Will. Oh, look at the detail on that. Hey, guys, look at that little threads sign. Off the back, you've got a spinning wheel. You've got, obviously, these are textiles that have been woven. Looks really good. Now, what about now, I've never zoomed in super close on these shops, but that's kind of cool. The shop itself has like textiles leaning out on it. And what about the berry one? Just boxes of fruit? It looks as though that's the case. You see people go by, they pay cash. Nobody's working right now. Florence, 110 in stock, 52 sold this week, and I make cash every time that happens. That's sweet. I'm not just feeding my people. That's great. And here's our village as it looks now. You can see housing starting to expand this way. I've zoned this whole area for housing. So hopefully that is the area they go when they're ready. Oh! A villager is upgrading his house, which means the first bit of clothing has been sold. If we click here, we see 3 sold this week for 30. We also see they have 2 wool, they have 3 shirts. And we're going to have a whole string of these because everybody was just shy of clothing. So how are we doing for gold? I think we make a second weaver hut right away. And if we need to make a 4th sheep farm, we do it. Ready? Aha! What is that? 5 new buildings unlocked. Your village has reached a new status. Commoner. 2 new villagers joining your village. All fantastic news. Let's go ahead and go. Yes, more fantastic. Build a church. Okay. I knew this was coming. I think we're going to hold off church building for the immediate time being. And maybe I turn this one the other way. The entrance will still be accessible and it'll make the village look a little varied at least. Okay. And how's our supply of wool? How fast does that go? Oh, we're in good shape, guys. We're in great shape. Okay, so people collecting berries. Lots of people on stone. We got 2 teams clearing wood, and right now they've been clearing out this area to make room for sheep pastures. I think we got to save up. Get our next 500 or so bucks. We don't have a freebie, do we? No. And I think what I want to do is focus the wheat farms down in this area, down on the shore, and that is really the next thing. So I might spend a little time off camera. I'm going to have to buy this plot, and then I'm going to have to buy this one here, I think. And you know what? This is going to be good stuff. Like if we zoom in here, can we see the difference between the upgraded houses? I don't know. That's a level 2. That's a level 1. It's not obvious. I think the level 2's... Yeah, this has got to be a level 2, right? Level 2, this is a 1. Okay, so they get a little extension on the back. They might get a nicer window or door. I'm not sure. But yeah, there's a little bit added to these houses, so this is good stuff. And then level 3 housing is fantastic. So that's down the road. Now that we should check, and I'll show you. Now that we have some commoners, we'll find one where Rudolph... Yeah, Rudolph needs clothing and house. Baptiste, give me one of the folks who has upgraded to a commoner. And we will see their new desires. Okay, a lot of people still left to upgrade. Uh-huh. Where are my commoners at? Come on, you plebs. There. Perfect. Marjorie. Now that's an excellent character. She now needs bread and faith. Bread we're going to be handling by building the whole wheat farming industry. Wheat farms, mills, bakeries, bread stands. Those are all on the way. And then she also needs faith. So that I think maybe this episode we're going to focus on bread, continue making this an episode about farming. In the following episode, we can do a grand cathedral build, because those are going to be very resource-intensive, require a ton of stone, a ton of tools, and maybe we're going to want to get the blacksmithing stuff done before we even get there. This will be interesting, but cash should start flowing in. Man, I can't talk today, guys. Let me cut away from you, let me build up, and let me see if I can get to the point where we're ready to buy a couple new plots of land. Alright guys, so things are going well. We've got that second weaver's hut, and while I was away from you, I added in an additional sheep farm, which will be coming together out there. I've already rearranged my labor, so we're prepared to do that. But in the meantime, we made some cash. So, the timing is good. If I didn't buy another one right now, I'm going to have to build a forestry hut and employ somebody to start replanting trees. We've almost exhausted this supply, and we've almost exhausted what I want to remove from this section and what I want to remove from this section. I'd like to keep a lot of the trees that are here. So, sheep farm complete. We're going to go in here and go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I imagine that's as many as they can do in between filling their needs, but let's put a 5th one in. And my ultimate goal, guys, is to get another 300 or so bucks and buy this plot down here. In order to do that, everything needs to be connected, so I'm going to buy this one, which is going to be our next village center. And I think what I will eventually do is add the church right here, right on this cliff, overlooking what will be our next village area. And I think in the next village area, we're going to have to add things like a new warehouse, a new set of market stalls, a new well. I've added in wells way out here just to keep these people satisfied, but I didn't add in a berry market or anything out here. They have to go back to town for that. They go back to town all the time to go in their houses to fill that need, and they're coming here to get clothing as well. So I figured just keep water out there because it's cheap and easy, and then we'll let these people keep making the clothing, and we'll keep taking care of these people. So in the meantime, we have unlocked a lot of buildings. We have unlocked everything required for the wheat. So you make a wheat farm, 100 gold, that shouldn't be too much of a problem. Windmill will be 200 gold, and a bakery will be 300. So this isn't the cheapest path, and then a bread market is 50. Those are the 4 on that path. We have also unlocked some decorative stuff, the church, as well as everything needed in the coal profession, or the sort of the tool-making profession. You need coal to run the smelters. You need iron mine to harvest the ore. You need a smelter to convert ore to ingots, and you need a blacksmith to convert ingots to tools. So that's all in the future. I think as we build up the new city, this one might be built with maybe a little bit more focus on clothing and things like that. This area maybe we'll build up with a focus on blacksmithing. We'll have some of the stuff around here. We'll build a massive church here. But for the moment, I just need to amass a little more gold. We're going to unlock this. Well, let's see here. We're going to unlock this one right here. And for 500, we're not getting a lot. But this is where I want to center my wheat farming. I really like the vision of seeing the wheat spread out along the shoreline as we go. I think we'll continue to do that all the way around here as the city expands. That's what this will be. And this hill, under the shadow of a future church, will be the people that feed and provide this new wheat farming area. So I'm excited for this. I'm going to cut away from you guys once again, and we will come back when we're ready to buy that up. All right, guys, time flies. I actually have enough to buy 2 plots of land, and I think we're going to do just that. Should I? We'll buy this one, and we'll buy this one, and we now have a contiguous city. I'm going to mark a big area here I've already marked this for extraction. I decided to leave a little cluster around the sheep farm, and I'm going to try and leave this cluster of pines right there. Excuse me. And I've cleaned up some of my previous extraction zones just to make things simple and more tidy looking, and we're going to schedule all of these trees for removal. I've gone ahead and built a new lumber camp down here to keep these people busy. And we can actually get started. I think during the episode, we're going to build our second city center right here and plan around it, because this one is expanding. You can already see houses starting to fill this area that I marked off previously for new housing. They're starting to expand quite far away from the well, from the shops, and I think we're going to want to create a new city center as soon as we've got bread and things like that coming. So let's focus on that. Let's focus on getting these people the beginnings of this key stuff. So this stuff's fairly expensive. I'm going to need to bank a little. Here, let's turn up the speed a little bit while we talk. Wheat farm I can build, and then we'll have to bank a little bit of cash before we do the next thing. Now, the wheat farm, people will travel from the wheat farm to wherever to plant crops. You mark out the crop areas just like you mark out housing. And and it shows you sort of the the fertility, and that's usually based on the trees that are in the area. And you can actually go all the way out into here. I don't think they will plant that far out, but they will plant a little bit into the edge of the water. So if you don't want that, you're going to want to come through and clean up the edge. Let's see if I can do that. Yeah, this is not the stuff you guys need to be seeing. Boom. So we have the beginnings of our wheat farming industry, and we now need to add the hut. Now, this is not something I thought of, but you could probably put the farmer's hut inside your town and have them come out of the town to do the planting. I think we're going to keep it right by the coastline. let's go ahead and find this. It is called Wheat Farm. Perfect. And where is our road? Let's hold on a sec. Our road runs like this. So what if we did Wheat Farm and we tucked it right up like this, right close to the road, and we'll see what they go ahead and do. So I've got a lot of unemployed people. Good Lord, the game. Time flies, and a lot of people arrive in your city while you're fast forwarding, it seems. All right, perfect. And we have enough to add the next step, which is the windmill, and soon we'll have enough to add a bakery as well. So as far as I can tell, one windmill is not enough for one farm, assuming you've given them enough range. Now, enough range for planting crops. Now, I think a farm takes 3 humans. We will find out soon. Like so. And the windmill. Now, this is going to be kind of key as we go, because this is as iconic as the buildings get in the game. Now, I could see doing them if this is a field of wheat. I could see doing them right along the shoreline. I think that would look nice. I could also see doing them up on the ridges along here. But I do have a church plan for this, and we kind of want to keep them close to the farming area. So I think maybe we will do the coastline model and build them right along the coast. We're going to have to plan in probably 3 or 4 or 5 as our city grows. We're going to do 1 for now and hope that is enough, because they're on the expensive side. We want to make sure we have enough for a bakery, which is the next stage, and we'll keep these people building. I think then you would need 2 millers. All right, guys, here is our girl, Edith. She is bringing everything we need for the wheat farm, and I can slow things down. Hold on, where'd you go, Edith? There we go. So she's going to complete this. Once again, the building process is really cool. I like how many steps and stages there are to each of these more complex buildings. They're not all the same. They get kind of laid out in a different order. You can see now, instead of like triangular trusses, these are big kind of arched arches. I think it's the English words I should be using. You've got kind of a more pointed entrance on this side, a very rounded one on this side, and now she is a builder. Oh no, she is one of the farmers. This is cool. Okay, I was hoping I could catch this moment in action, and you guys could see what happens when they go to work. So yeah, they will travel quite far from the farm, and now she probably has to go fill her needs. Perfect. So let's go look at the farm and the other farmers. Helen, what are you doing? There she is, arriving at the farmhouse for the first time and going off to work. And she continues where Edith left off. Fantastic. So yeah, if I hadn't done a nice tidy edge here, they kind of go into the water, and the water isn't the prettiest looking thing in the game. I guess the textures in general are pretty simple, but overall it comes off being a very pretty looking game. I like it a lot. So they will lay out only a certain amount, and that must be Thomas. And so Thomas needs bread and faith. There's Thomas. Looking good, buddy. So I wonder if they will build a lot more. Now, our villagers are upgrading their houses. We're not going to see the really cool houses yet. Oh, this is cool. I like this a lot, guys. So we're going to have to build more of those farms and employ more people to make a bigger farm field. We'll find out in a moment how big these can get. They're obviously working around the outside of this forest. They won't plant in the forest, it seems. But the next tier of houses are really cool. We're going to have to give bread and faith to these people, which I don't know if we'll manage both in today's episode. The church, I think we should make a really special looking church. So maybe we save that for a future episode. But for the moment, we're going to focus on the mill, getting our first miller to work and turning some of this wheat, which eventually will have to get harvested by our farmers, into flour. But I was going to say, this building, the farmhouse building, looks enough like the other houses in your village that I could see putting that right in the village and having the farmers travel in order to do this, instead of having the farmhouse be right in the middle of your farmland. Very cool. But this is the extent to which they have expanded the crops. Eventually they're going to harvest them. We now have, I barely even noticed, we now have a working mill. Now, we can tell it isn't working yet because the blades are not spinning. Oswald and Rupert on their way. Where are you, Oswald? At home. There he is. There's the fella. And Rupert. What is Rupert up to? Let's check in on him. Same thing, right? Come on, fellas. All right, so probably going to work. This is why we're going to need our second... Wow, they just go in circles, eh? We're going to need our... Oh, they're roommates. I love it. Okay, fantastic. A couple of roommate millers. Now, Or maybe there are a couple. Who knows? Fill your needs. Get your bread. Get your clothing. Go to work. For frick's sake. Stop going in circles. I want to see you go work in the mill, okay? God, Rupert just follows Oswald around like a pet puppy. Finally got these fools off to work. They spent so damn long in their houses. It's silly. All right, so he's gathering grain. He's going to take it. That's perfect. It's right on the way. He's going to take it to the mill and become a miller. This is fantastic. It's spinning now. What about his lover, Rupert? Going to fetch some resources. Follow villager? Yes. Okay, so Rupert's on his way. He'll get some wheat. He'll grind that to flour. And what do we do with flour? We bake it into bread. That also requires water. So I think maybe it's time we lay out the new center of our upcoming village. And we make a lot of bread baking in that area. Okay, so let's take a look, guys. We're going to do this together. We're going to save the church for next episode. But we will get our people fed with bread before this is all said and done. I have a well right here. That was temporary. We're going to go ahead and remove that. And we are going to plan a new village center right in this area here. So I have already slated a bunch of this for removal. All these trees, we're going to be leaving this patch here. So if we're going to have a similar shaped donut, I think, of housing, we are going to put our well. Well. 2 new villagers are joining your village. I probably got 4. Yeah, 4 unemployed. Give me this and a well. And we're going to put that right here. Okay? So from there, we are going to add the same stuff we did on our last time round. We're going to add a warehouse. And we'll center it right over. And you know what? We should try and plan it so it's close to the main trade road. You know what? It doesn't make too big a difference. Let's spin it this way. We're going to be looking at it uphill most of the time. And we'll go like this. Done. We don't need another village center. That sort of acts as a warehouse until you have a warehouse. So once that warehouse is done, we will need 2 transporters. Perfect. And we're going to have to build up our new village center with a few valuable things. Until then, we're going to employ everybody as a builder. Maybe they can get working on housing. Who knows what. That well should be enough to attract people to the new areas, but I think while we're waiting for that to happen, we are going to also set this up with the stalls we already have access to. We can put a berry stall right here, and we can put a clothing stall. And we will put that right here. We'll add a bread stall in eventually, and I think now we're probably good. We're going to need to go, along with those transporters, we're going to need 2 market tenders. 1 and 2, and we are going to need to zone out our new area. So let's grab the paintbrush. We will start slapping in room for residential housing. Okay, the new village center complete, guys. We have got a berry stall. We have got a clothes market. Indeed, Yolande and Robin off to work, and we have 2 transporters at a new warehouse. Now, anytime you build a new one, you're going to want to make sure that you're capable of accepting everything there is. I think I should go back to the old one. Make sure it will accept flour, stuff like that. Bread especially. We probably don't need to have it accept flour and wheat. It's going to be far enough away. So we'll simply add bread to the list, which is already on there. And you know what? I don't think we need to add the iron ores. You know what? Go ahead and do it. Add the iron ore, tools, ingots, and coal. I think that's everything. There we go. Okay, so we won't accept flour and wheat up there, which will allow us to take all the flour and wheat from our new farming operation and put it in this area, which is where I'd like to focus in the bakery region of town. Now, I've gone and laid out this new sort of donut. I hope I've given people enough space. They don't seem to, because the road is so close here. Nobody seems to be taking me up on it, but we don't have that many. I don't know if we have any homeless villagers. So we'll see. The 2 new ones that join, we'll see if they have the guts to take residence up in the new donut I have created. How good a job did I do? We'll scan up. That's not that donutty. That is not that donutty. We might be able to remove this logging camp with time. Let's expand it like that. We can expand, continue this path along the road for housing. And I'm going to leave this area here to my left because that is where I want to center our church. So we'll be able to put some new people along here. We're going to put a new extraction zone to take some trees out here. We'll leave that patch of old growth there. We will now be able to actually take this stuff out, which we couldn't before until we expanded into that area below us. And we're going to stop at the edge of the pine trees. Actually, let's get this lone loser of a pine tree. Okay, so we'll tell them to clear this area out. They should be good at that, including that little patch. And our new area, it's got a berry stall. It should probably have its own gathering, its own berry gatherers. So we could put a berry gathering station right nearby here as well. We do have that capability. Let's do that, and then we'll see. We still have to attract people to live here. So hopefully they start taking us up on it. I mean, it's going to be a great place to live eventually, but yeah, maybe if they don't have to travel quite so far for berries, let's go gathering hut, and we will tuck one in right here. All right, and I'm going to put 3 people to work as gatherers in this new region, and now we're just about ready to take on the bread making at the bakery. So let's go. It's not called a gatherer. No wonder you can't find it. It's called a forager. How many times? I've already been playing this series for an hour, for frick's sake. Get foraged. Okay, so we got 3 people ready to take over, and now I think it is time to add our bakers, and that means adding a bakery. The bakery, importantly, has to be really close to a well. It doesn't just require wheat, it requires water as well. So let's go here, and we will add a bakery. Okay. And then bread markets. So maybe if no one's going to build a house right here, we do it. That's the front door, but I love the way the back of this looks. Oh, our first house. Our first villager going in. So maybe we put the bread stall right in that central area at the back of the bakery. So if we put the bakery like this, its sign goes over the road. Ready? Like that. And then we plan our bread market to go right in the middle of it. Is that going to be too weird? I think that would actually look kind of cool. I'm going to edge to this side because there was that big baking oven. We'll tuck that in, and we're going to need a bread market in the old part of town as well. We still have plenty of space to expand market stalls in the center of town here. I think this is the absolute best location. Boom. So that means we are now going to need a couple of market tenders, a couple of bakers, and we'll be able to check in on our process. We'll be able to see our first people fed with bread. How fantastic is that going to be? And we're literally going through clothes as fast as we can use them. Is the issue wool? No, our balance is pretty good. I think we're just using a lot of clothing as it stands now. So to start the episode, we got started with sheep farms. We added in the weavers' huts and the clothing stalls, which really makes this feel more like a market. And now we've added in a bread stall. That will be completely useless until I actually get some bread made. But we now have, let's check our supplies. We have a supplies party. We have 1 wheat, so we probably need another farm. We have 26 flour, so that 1 windmill can keep up with 1 farm quite well, as it seems. This is fully staffed. This is fully staffed, and they have not used all the area. In fact, you can see no crops are planted as it stands right at this moment. We probably need to add in a second farm for that 1 windmill. We got a little cash in the bank, guys. Let's do it. This is kind of cool, guys. You can actually make these buildings intersect a little bit. So we can make that look like it's almost one big contiguous building. Like so. I spun it so that it's got a different sort of extension. People will come in and out of the back. They don't seem to matter. They just seem to sort of walk in and out at whatever angle is convenient based on their path of travel. So we're probably going to be able to double the size of this field. We should have somebody chopping out these trees, but they must be busy. Yeah, they're busy doing this section right here, which I don't blame them. It's closer to their stand, which is right here. We'll move that eventually so it's not right on top of the farms. And how's our bakery doing? Oh, so close. Okay, no, I'm going to wait, guys. I'll check back on you. We'll speed things up, and we'll get this bakery done. I hope it looks as good as the weavers' huts. Oh, that looks so cool. Keep it up, Juliet. I think this is going to be one of the best-looking buildings in the game so far, based on my humble opinion. Is she done? Come on, Juliet. You got this, girl. Yes. Okay. So let's zoom out and let's take, no, not too far. Let's zoom in. Okay. So it looks as though you sell bread out of the front of this. We know that's not really true. That's not how it works. It also looks like the door is made for a hobbit person, which is a little inconvenient. But let's see how our merging of the two buildings has gone. You've got your baker's hut right there. You've got a little table here, and then you've got your baker's station for selling stuff right here. I don't think that looks too bad. Everything's sort of piled together. You've got these big, I don't know what they call them. It's like an oar. Paddles. I think they're called paddles for reaching in and out of the oven. Is that right? I think it's called a paddle. But we have a new village center. Two bold groups of people, Juliet and Herman. Juliet building the bakery. Victor and Anne have done the work. Do I have good jobs for these people? I think Juliet deserves to be a baker. Let's go ahead and make her the baker, along with her pal Herman. I like that. You build the bakery, you get to work in the bakery, okay? All right, guys, I went and added to this chunk of town a new sawmill, and I think we got new people incoming. So we're going to go ahead and employ a couple, because I noticed we're really starting to stockpile. With 1 carpenter fully employed and 3 lumber camps fully employed, we're really starting to stockpile lumber, and the planks are something we can sell. So a new carpenter and one in this part of town is a good thing. We're gathering a lot of wood from this new area, so they don't have to haul it quite so far, get it back to the old area of town where the original sawmill is. But I think I'm going to call it here for this episode, guys. Let's zoom in a little. Let me change the camera up, and you will see what we have created. How cool is that? Our first little town. I love that the houses are sort of curved around the middle there. Last episode, we ended by building the Lord's Manor. We expanded, and in this episode, we did a bunch of sheep farming. We added in 4 sheep farms with shepherds. We added in 2 weavers right over here. Over the course of the episode, I added in a little bit more stone, wood, and berry collection as well to keep things balanced. The weavers create clothing that goes to these little green market stalls, and then we moved on to the bakers. We added in 2 wheat farms. They are now planting crops all along this coastline, which is what I was hoping for. It's why we added 1, 2, 3 new hexes to the village, and we added in the amazing sort of iconic looking, iconic looking mill. How good is that? That is so lovely. All right, and that produces flour. Now the flour is essential for the process of creating bread. So in our new town center, which we added in 3 new market stalls, a new warehouse, we now have 6 brave people who have moved out to this area, and 2 more on the verge. We have now added in that. We added in bread stalls in both town centers, and we have a new, hold on, I can do it with this camera. I am getting so much better at this, a new bakery. And if you zoom in, it just looks so cool. Not that far, but that far. I'm really loving it. So next episode, guys, we need to fill the last thing. Let me see if I can just find a random person. Let me find you. Get clicked on. Let's slow things down a little bit. There we go. All right, that's Rudolph. He's got his berries. He's got his water. He's got his house. He's got his clothing. He's got his bread. What does he need to become a commoner? Or what does he need to graduate from commoner to whatever level is next? Faith. He needs faith. And for that, in the next episode, we are going to build a church, a mighty church. Now, at the same time, we're going to focus on building up our tool making. We're going to get iron mining going. We're going to get, because if you just have a look, guys, take a look at the core of a church right here. If I want to build this, say, up to this height, that's 38 tools. We don't want to be importing these. We don't want to be buying these. That's just too darn expensive. So as we get going on the church, we get going on our tool creation. We mine the iron. We turn wood into charcoal. Those 2 things together allow us to fuel, I think, what will be probably 3 or 4 or 5 smelters. When I had 5 people mining iron in my first village before I started recording, I had so much ore it was silly. So we'll get 2 or 3 or 4 smelters going. We will fill those with people. Those will create iron ingots, and then with a couple of blacksmith shops, maybe 1 in each town center, we will be able to start creating our own tools. And we'll maybe probably have to mine a ton of stone to build the mighty cathedral, I'm imagining, but we've already cleared the space for it. It is going to go right here. And in fact, let's make sure nobody else moves into this area. This is church territory. You ain't welcome. This is for the Lord, not for you. So I like it. This is a true organic medieval city building game, but they do give us the ability to do some things specifically and in our own style. So just like we did with the Lord's Manor, we're going to be able to build a custom church. We're going to be able to add extensions. We're going to be able to add gargoyles, crosses, stained glass somehow. We are going to be able to add epic round towers, which we can extend all the way to the sky. We've got a small tower right here, and I think this one has a bell on it, right? And a large tower, big tower right here. Ready? So just playing around with this, slapping pieces together without even getting into the archways, the foundation, the fountains, all that kind of stuff, guys. We've already created a decent looking church, but we're going to do so much better in the next episode. So join me for that. This has been episode 2 of Foundation. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, go ahead and click the like button. And after that, subscribe. You can click on my ginger face to do so if you have not yet subscribed. Thank you for hanging out. I'm Levon Foundation, and I will see you all in the next episode.